concept. They are closely related. However, they are not the same, right? First, strategic competitive strategies. That is a general approach for the firm to create advantage, right? And we have two approach to create advantage. First, cost. Second is differentiation. And if you combine the type of advantage with the competition scope, broad or narrow, you can generate 4 type of competitive strategy. It just show you a general way or the direction, okay, how to get the superior profit, how to get the above industry average rate of return. However, you cannot deploy this approach without strategic group. The strategic group will show you something more specific. Okay? In this case, it will show you what choices in terms of multiple dimensions. For example, integration, cost position, push and pull model, right? So your firm have to make choice in each strategic dimension. Of course, all the choice of the strategic dimension must be consistent, right? They will collective form a whole competitive strategies, right? And one competitive strategies, you may have multiple, you have different strategic group, right? It means one point will create many points. The relationship is one to many, okay? One to many, because you have many way. You have many way to achieve the cost advantage or to get a differentiation advantage. You have multiple way, and which way to choose, it depends on your resources, right? So that is the relation between the two big terms, okay? Competitive strategies and strategic group. Okay? And the second important point is the mobility barriers. This term is derived from the strategic group, and the barriers, the mobility barriers is broader than the entry barriers, because it's not only prevent one firm, the new potential competitors enter into our group, but it's also prevent some firm jumping from its group to our group. Right? So it's prevent two type of existing competitors, okay, but in different group, and the potential competitors. So okay.
Dạ thầy ơi, cho em hỏi thầy có đang share màn hình không ạ? Tại em
Không, cái này là tôi mới chỉ lưu ý thôi, chưa qua bài mới.
Dạ. Em cảm
ơn. So don't forget mobility barriers, okay? And when you map the whole industry on the coordinate, so you can see there's many points. Each point represents for one firm, right? So if you find the some point they closely position, so they should belong to one group, right? And you do the same, you will see the many other group, and the distance between the group really matters, because the distance will tell you how similar the groups are, right? If they are really close, it means they really seem similar, and they tend to compete one another. And a group that is very far from your group. So even they are operating in your industry, but they are not your direct competitors. Right? And the distance between group is also represent the mobility barrier. Right? Because to switch from this group to another group is very difficult. And you have to make a big trade-off. Right? For example, if you want to switch from differentiation to the cost advantage, it's a big deal, right? It's a big issue because you have to change not only the direction, but you also have to change the resources, capability, and competency. It's a big issue, right? And when the firm they are committed to one way to compete, cost or differentiation, so they have to stick with that approach. Okay, and if they want to change, it's costly and it's take time. Yeah. And the final message is okay. In your conclusion, you have already mentioned about the importance of macro factors in terms of its influence on the underlying causes of the competitive force strength. Yeah. Okay. Those are the three important points I want to share with you about the last lectures. Okay. You have any questions so far? Okay. Now we move to the first part of today's lectures. I want to dive into the competitive advantage. Okay? And competitive advantage, and until now, you just know there are two types of advantage: cost and differentiation. Right? And you also know the definition of competitive advantage. Competitive advantage is your firm have competitive advantage when you are able to create more value than competitors can do. Right? And of course, in terms of cost, lower cost structures, or you can have the ability to create something unique that will lift up the willingness to pay of the customer. That is the two main way. Right? But to deploy the strategy and to know exactly what the firm have to do, and to give you some basics for decision. So you have to analyze the competitive advantage into component, right? And each component you will keep okay, dividing, split the the component into the subcomponent, and finally you will know what decision you have to make. Right? It's like you have to operationalize the competitive advantage concept. Right? So that is the first part today. Okay. There are let me share the screen. Okay. You see my screen? Chapter 3, internal analysis.
Yes, we see it.
Oh, okay, okay. First, we have the building block of advantage. Basically, we have four factors, right? Four factors. The first one is superior efficiency. The second one is quality. The third one is innovation. And the final is a customer responsiveness. And to create the superior efficiency or quality, your firm need to possess some resources, some capability, and some competency, right? But resources, capability, and competency we will discuss later in the next chapters, right? But we have to develop, we have to possess this one so that the firm can have the superior efficiency in quality and innovation, so that the firm can create advantage. And these four building blocks collectively form the competitive advantage, because when your firm have the superiors in efficiency or in quality innovation, it means your firm can create more values, because the value created by your firm is a function between the cost and the willingness to pay. So if you have the high efficiency, it means you can manipulate, you can push down the cost, right? You expand the value creation areas by push down the cost, push down the below edge of the rectangle. And how about the innovation or the qualities? If you have the high qualities, your product is high qualities, and the customer, they're willing to pay more money, you can charge the premium price for the high quality product. In this way, you expand the areas of rectangle by lifts up the upper edge, right? Remember the value creation stick, right? Okay. First, I want to talk about superior efficiency. And if you define the business or your firm as a function or a device to transform the input into the output, and the input may include the basic factors like labors, land, capitals, and technologies. So your firm transform this input into the output, your product you sell in the market, right? So this the definition or the measure of efficiency is maybe there's I think the measure or the definition of efficiency. So somebody will define, okay, efficiency is the quantity of the input that the firm take to produce a given output. Okay, so the formula of efficiency is the output over divided by the input. So you agree with this definition? Because I find two concepts, efficiency and productivity, they're really closing, they're really confusing, because both of them you tend to take output divided by input, right? And then you interpret that, to create this much or this quantity of output. So how much input I have to consume. So it's really confusing between productivity and efficiency. So can you have any ideas on how to define the productivity and efficiency? And you have any measure of those two concepts? You can chat in the chat box. Okay, I define productivity as a ratio, as a product, as a quotient between the division between output and the input. Okay, and and the efficiency can be determined by the employee productivity and capital productivity, because these two are the main factors: labor and capital, L and K. And the employee productivity will be we can measure the employee productivity by how much time does the one employee take to finish one output. For example, the GM and Ford, those two big car manufacturer. So that in GM, it's normally take the 30 hours of employee to finish a car, while it's just 25 hours in Ford. Right? And if other thing equal, for example, wage rate, okay, so Ford will have the lower cost structures, right? Because it's have the higher productivity, right? Within one unit of time, for example, one working day. So the GM can produce more than Ford, right? And if you write down the cost formula, okay, the average cost equal average fixed cost plus variable fixed cost, right? And if you have the higher productivity, it means your Q, your quantity produced is larger than your competitors. When your Q is large and within the fixed cost is still constant, so you can reduce the average fixed cost, right? And how about the average of how about the average variable cost? How about that one? How about that item? So when you have the high productivity, what happened to the average variable cost? What happened? We want to analyze each component, so you can see what effect of high productivity on the average cost, right? The average cost is a function of the two components, okay? Average fixed and average variable cost, right? So we want to analyze the whole path, right? From higher productivity. So in the end, we have the lower cost structure or not. Okay? So it really matters. Okay, think about that. Okay? And the second one is the capital productivity. Right? So the capital productivity can be measured by you divided the revenue sales your firm have and the capital invested in your business, so that you can generate the sales, right? And you can know $1 invested in your business to create a product, so you can receive how much money in return, right? In this case, we have two PC manufacturer, Dell and HP. As you see, the Dell is more efficient than the HP, because if you spend $1 in Dell, so it's help you to return the $12 in revenue, right? It's much more efficient, right? Together, the capital productivity and employee productivity will determine your efficiency, right? and the efficiency is really matters because it will determine your cost structures, right? And cost structures is the determinant of the cost advantage, is a primary determinant of cost advantage. Okay, and beside the employee and capital productivity, we can also calculate productivity in every single business function, every single business activity. We can see, we analyze the firm. We can consider a firm as a set of interrelated business function, business activity. And when you conduct some business activity, it will create a piece of value. However, it's also cost money, right? So you have to measure, okay, the cost for one activity and the values that activity creates. Then you will compare by subtraction or division. So with the aim that you want to make sure that productivity in every business function is high enough, is is a as a acceptable level, right? So that you can your firm is competitive, right? And here we have to measure the productivity of R&D activity. Uh, your firm spend this much on R&D, and how many new drugs successfully commercialized. Okay, and you can measure the productivity and productivity of the sales force. How many sales generated by every sales call? Okay, how much money in return. Okay? So those are the first building block of the competitive advantage, superior efficiency. Yeah? To improve, to enhance the efficiency, you have to make the impact on your productivity. Right? That is the key. Okay, the next one is the superior quality. Superior quality. So I can define in marketing strategies. I already define product as a set, as a bundles of many attributes. Okay? And this attribute will create the values for the customer. The attribute may be the product design, the features of your product. Okay. And with the features, the customer can solve their problem. So the performance of the product, the style, and the service accompanying with the product, right? And the second one is how reliable your product is, right? And I want to group those attributes into two big groups. The first one is excellence. The second one is reliability, right? So the firm, the product need to meet these two criteria, right? Excellent and reliability, right? And the superior quality imply that the attribute provided to the customer will help the customer have the high utility, and you have to do much more better than your firm, right? Your customer should have the higher utility when they pick your product, right? And the excellence and reliability is built into your product to help your firm to do so. And um, and if you take example between the two competitors in the retail industry, first is the Walmart, the second is Nordstrom. Okay, and if you have a demand to buy a boot, eh? And you can buy the boot in both retailer Walmart and Nordstrom, right? Of course, the Walmart will offer you the much lower price. In this case, just 20 bucks, right? However, it is around $500 in Nordstrom. Okay, why? The reason is the the pair of boot in the Nordstrom, they are handmade, okay? And the materials used for the boot in the Nordstrom it's a real leather, right? And the design of the boot in Nordstrom is very luxury, and it also has superior styling, right? However, if you if you want to something much cheaper, you can go to the Walmart, and the boot in the Walmart will be produced with a mass production, so you can see a numerous people wear the boots like you, like yours. Right? It's the same. It's not different. It's just not unique. Right? Because it's produced by the mass production method. Right? And the materials is used to make that boot is not real, but imitation leather, right? And the style of the boot is very popular. It's not unique. It's not luxury. So that is the first criterion of quality. Excellent. Okay. The second example of the second example will show you the different into the second criterion of quality is a reliability. Okay, the reliabilities is the you can define reliabilities as the product will does its job and it was designed for. All right. For example, the Toyota car is has the highest reliability rating in the automobile industry because the car operate very smoothly, okay, and is so rare to have some sometimes it's breakdown, okay, it's rare, right? So its reliability is very high, okay? Uh, and the customer need both. Okay? The product must have something like the features, like a style, okay, like a full service. However, the product must be reliable. Okay? The product can function well, and it was designed for. Okay? And when you combine two criteria, eh, and you can position your brand and competitor brand on the map, and you will know, okay, what segment is your brand, is your car, is your product, is your brand, okay, and what your direct competitors, okay. And if you see on on the screen, so I already plot every brand of the automobile brand on the ordinate. First, first is you can see the BMW and Audi, okay, Lexus, Mercedes, and Volvo, okay, and this this automobile brand we can see they are really close. Okay, however, if you zoom in, you can have the two group. Okay, first group is on the right hand side is focused on the safety. Okay, on the safety, and the second group, uh, okay, is have a high reliability, but it have the lower safety. Okay, you can see the landscape of the automobile industry in terms of two criteria: reliability and the safety. Okay? And the third building block is superior innovation. And I also divide innovation into two types. First is the product, and second is the process. When your firm have to innovate your product, and if your firm can be able to innovate your product, develop your product, and make your product have something unique, okay, so that the customer can see the difference between your product and competitors easily, okay, and the buyers don't consider your product and competitor product are interchangeable, okay, so your firm do it successfully, okay? And when you improve your product, so you want to increase the benefit your product give to the customer, right? And if your customer, if your buyers perceive it and appreciate it, so their willingness to pay will be increased, right? And your firm successfully create more value, right? And of course, how much money you extract, you capture, it depends on the price, but we'll talk about later. Yeah. And the second one is the process innovation. To create the product, so your firm have to organize the steps, production step, production process, and you have to optimize that process, right? And you have to engineer the production process so that that process can save you costs. Your firm make sure there's no step that occur make your firm incur costs. However, it's at no value. So you have to remove that step, right? You have to streamline the whole process. Okay? But be careful when you remove some step from the process, it maybe affect the values, that provided by the product to the customer, right? Be careful. And process innovation allow firm to create more values by lower the cost, right? By push down the below edge of the rectangle. Okay? That is the two way. Okay? The superior innovation help your firm to create more values by two way. First, willingness to pay. Second is reduce the cost. Okay, okay, we move to another one. Is customer responsiveness. Okay? And it have the three component. Okay? If your firm can have the insight of the customer, and your firm know exactly the need and the problem and the pain of the customer, and your firm will design the product so that satisfy the firm better, but satisfy the customer better than your competitor. So your firm responds to the customer need very well, better than competitors. Right? That is the first component. The second component is your firm can allow the customer to customize the product they will use, they will consume. Okay? So your firm will let your buyer, your customer co-produce the product. Okay? And of course, when individual buyers they co-produce the product, so your product will be unique, right? It totally fit the individual buyer need Right? That is the second component. The third component is the time from the time from the orders, when you take the orders and when the customer receive the product. Okay, and we want to shorten this time, right? So those are the three component of customer responsiveness, right? Okay, I already discussed 4 building block of competitive advantage. So you have any questions so far? Okay. And this building block of innovation of competitive advantage uh, help the firm create more values by reduce the cost and increase the willingness to pay. These building blocks are not independent, but between them there are interaction. Right? For example, if your firm have have if your firm is superior in quality, so it not only help to increase the willingness to pay of the customer because they have the excellent product and reliable product, but it's also have some benefit for your firm. Because when your firm have the high quality, it means your firm your firm can save some money and some time to address the quality problem, to fix the defective product, right? So your firm can save money and time. So you can reduce the cost, improve the cost structures, right? So there is the uh, okay. So there is an interaction between the building block of competitive advantage, right? So the firm need to meet this building block because if the relationship between between the building block is very complex. Okay, so it's difficult for the competitor to imitate, to copy, right? So that you can sustain and you can protect your competitors' advantage from imitation or erosion, right? Because every competitor try to learn, try to adopt a best practice, try to copy the industry leaders. So the interaction between the building block, is very useful to protect your competitive advantage. Okay, that is the first part of competitive advantage. Okay, and the second one is I want to connect between the competitive advantage and the profit of the firm. As I told you, the advantage is proportional to the margin of the company, the P minus C, right? And when your firm have competitive advantage, it means your firm will have the above average industry rates of return, right? So this formula rates of return is equal the net profit divided by invested capital, right? So how much money you have you receive in terms of profit when you invest $1 in your business, and if you manipulate this formula, you can add the new concept revenue, and you have two ratio: net profit over revenue time revenue over invested capital. So you know, the rate of return on invested capitals is not only depends on the two variable, but now it depends on three variable: net profit, revenue, and invested capital. Right? But if you stop here, you cannot see the contribution um, of the building block. So we need we need to expand this formula further. For example, if I expand the first ratio, net profit over the revenue, into uh, uh, some ratio like cost of goods sold over sales, um, uh, sales general and administrative costs over sales, and R&D sales. So if I keep expanding this, so I will have more ratio, right? And I do the same. If I expand revenue over the invested capitals, I also have like the working capital over sales, or the physical or plant or equipment on over sales. So if I keep expanding those things, so I can have more specific variable. When I influence those variables, I can improve the outcome, the rates of return on invested capital. Okay. So that is the first part of the the lectures, the building block of competitive advantage. Okay. This the building block is really matters, because it's a connection between the external analysis and internal analysis, right? Because we almost complete the external analysis, and we will move to internal analysis. It means we will look inside the firm, evaluate the strength and the weakness, to find the resources and decide which resources are strategic and which resources are just normal. Okay. And the building block of competitive advantage we present today is a link. It's a bridge. It's bridge the internal and the external, because to create a superior efficiency, superior quality, superior innovation, and superior customer responsiveness, so we need some competency, and we need some functional we need some functional strategies. Okay. We need marketing, we need qualities, we need production function, we need human resources, we need all function, and those all function together, they contribute to each building block here. Right? And those function just be conduct when the firm have or possess the resources, especially the strategic resources, right? So that is why the building block of competitive advantage is very important. Okay, it's bridge between internal and external analysis. Okay, so you have any question? Okay. Rồi, vậy thì mình đã bước qua mình đã hoàn thành xong cái phần đầu, tức là một cái một cái lợi thế cạnh tranh nó được, đầu tiên là nó được định nghĩa là cái khả năng doanh nghiệp có thể tạo ra nhiều giá trị hơn. Rồi, và mình có hai cách để tạo ra nhiều giá trị hơn, là mình sẽ kéo cái chi phí, cải thiện cái cơ cấu về chi phí, hay là mình tạo ra sự khác biệt để giúp tăng cao cái mức sẵn lòng trả. Ừ. Và cái này nó chưa nói tới cái quyết định về giá. Và các bạn thấy cái yếu tố về giá ở đây mình chưa nói, mình mới chỉ tập trung vào cái giá trị tạo ra thôi. Cái giá thì ở cái phần sau, nội dung thứ hai mình sẽ nói. À, rồi vậy thì để những cái việc mà tạo ra cái giá trị nhiều hơn thì về cơ bản thì mình có hai cách làm đó, nhưng mà nếu mà chỉ dừng ở đó thôi á, thì nó vẫn chưa cụ thể và chi tiết, thì mình sẽ không thể triển khai thành thành những cái chiến lược những cái chiến lược chức năng được. Vậy thì ở đây tôi muốn chia cái tôi muốn tôi muốn phát triển cái khái niệm này thành những khái niệm nó cụ thể hơn, nó có thể nắm bắt hơn, nó mang cái tính triển khai nhiều hơn, là lợi thế về về hiệu suất này. Ừ, lợi thế về hiệu suất, ờ, lợi thế về cải tín, lợi thế về chất lượng, và lợi thế về cái khả năng đáp ứng khách hàng. Và khi mà từng cái lợi thế nhỏ đó, từng cái lợi thế nhỏ đó nó được cụ thể hóa bằng bằng những cái biến, bằng những cái hoạt động cụ thể hơn. ha Vậy thì ví dụ như là để có cái superior innovation thì mình sẽ phải có cái superior in product innovation and superior process innovation. Đó, vậy thì là nó sẽ cụ thể hơn. Và các bạn thấy là những cái này á, nó là một cái gợi ý rất là tốt để mình tiếp tục hỏi những câu hỏi. Vậy thì làm sao để tôi có thể tạo ra được những cái cải tiến về sản phẩm và những cái cải tiến về quy trình tốt, thì lúc này mình sẽ thấy được cái vai trò của các bộ phận chức năng, của những cái chiến lược chức năng, ví dụ như là những chiến lược về về nhân sự, marketing, về chất lượng, về sản xuất, về kho, về tất cả những chức năng trong doanh nghiệp, về tài chính. Vậy thì tất cả những chức năng đó nó đều đóng góp vào cho những cái building block của cái lợi thế cạnh tranh này. Và nếu mà các bạn tiếp tục hỏi là những cái chức năng, những cái hoạt động kinh doanh đó, những hoạt động chức năng đó làm sao để nó có, vậy thì nó cần phải có những cái nguồn lực, nó cần phải có những cái khả năng, nó cần phải có những năng lực riêng biệt, thì những chức năng đó nó mới đóng góp được để tạo ra những building block. Những cái building block này thì nó mới nó góp phần vào tạo ra lợi thế cạnh tranh. Vậy thì các bạn thấy là nếu mà mình cứ tiếp tục hỏi như vậy thì mình sẽ kết thúc ở cái việc doanh nghiệp tôi sẽ cần có những nguồn lực, cần có năng lực, cần có những cái năng lực riêng biệt này, và những cái này là những cái chính yếu tôi cần phải phát triển, tôi cần phải bảo vệ nó. Vậy thì nó chính là, và để nhận diện được những cái đó thì tôi cần phải nhìn vào bên trong doanh nghiệp của tôi, và đánh giá so với doanh nghiệp bên ngoài, so với ngành, thì từ đó tôi sẽ nhận diện ra được những điểm mạnh đó. Và đó chính là cái phân tích bên trong của doanh nghiệp. Đó là cái nội dung tiếp theo, ờ, ở những buổi tiếp theo mình sẽ học. Vậy thì cái building block này nó có một nhiệm vụ là cầu nối giữa hai cái phân tích môi trường ngoài và phân tích môi trường bên trong. Nó rất là quan trọng. Rồi, các bạn có thắc mắc gì không? Okay. Now we move to the second topic. Okay. The second topic is a value proposition. Okay. The value proposition. So the 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 value proposition is the state. Okay. It's a state that your customer will read the statement and they will know how much values they can gain and how much money they have to pay for that values. Right? So the values proposition is a general statement. It will claim how much values the customer gain and how much money they have to pay for those values. Okay? And this will involve the pricing strategies, right? Because this will determine the market values of your product, right? In the competitive advantage, we focus on the willingness to pay and the cost. We know the total values we create, and now we will split the values into two parts. Okay? And the customer will know how much money, how much values they can attract. Okay. They will evaluate the price and the benefit they perceive from the product. Okay. And the value proposition is the one that help the firm can meet the expectation of profit. Okay. And also make the customer happier when they pick our product rather than the competitor's product. Okay? So we have to adjust the price, okay, a little bit up or a little bit down, so that we can balance the two interests of customer and the shareholder. Okay? So as you know, the value proposition is very important and it's very hard to find an optimal values proposition, right? Because a good one help two shareholder and stakeholders, shareholder and customer happy. Right? It's really challenging to have the optimal value proposition. However, a value proposition is not the mission of the firm. It's not the core values. So the value proposition need to be changed. Okay? So that is the first definition of the value proposition. Okay. Now I give you example. Okay. I give you example. And then you will evaluate. Okay. And you can explain why the behavior of the customer. Okay? The first example is the airline industry, and as you see, we have a survey of the airline industry, and you see the most of people feel annoying about uncomfortable seat or limited legs room. Okay? Up to 70% of the total survey customer say, okay, this problem is very annoying, right? And they are not happy. They are not satisfied with this problem. And the second one is the airline always impose some fee on the customer for the seat, for the baggage, for the check-in baggage, right? And 67% is not satisfied with the delay and cancellation of the airline, and crying and loud baby. So these are the biggest complaint about the air travel. And as you know, the airline, they always try to reduce the width of the seat, so that they can increase the number of seats in every flight, so they can increase the profit. So I will take Ryanair as the example to airlines. Let's see one interview of the customer of Ryanair. Oh, what's wrong? Wait for me. I try to open the link. Okay, let's see the first interview. Let's see how a passenger complained about Ryanair. What's wrong? Okay, something wrong with the clip, so we will skip it. Okay, and now here, there's a statistic on some airline in the world, in terms of how the airline force the passenger to sit separately. And the airline want force the passengers sit separately, especially when the passengers go flight with in group, right? It's a whole family, but the airline force them to sit in the distant seat. Okay, and if the passengers want to sit close together, they have to pay money for that one. And you see, the Ryanair's as a top is the first airline that force the customer, force the passengers to pay money, extra money, to to have the close seat, okay, to their family, okay? And this is the first. Okay? The second one is the airport that the Ryanair fly from is it's not convenient, and it's very far from the city center. So the customer have to take some travel from the city center to the airport. It take money and it take time. The second one is Ryanair will charge the passengers some money. Some some fee is very ridiculous. Okay, like okay, if you want to have the boarding pass, okay, you have to print it. Okay, you print it, and if you print your boarding card board your boarding pass at the airport it take you around $20. It's very expensive. Okay, and there is no seat pocket. Okay, and nowhere to put something yourself, your phone or your belonging on the flight. So you have to put all your belonging on your lap. Okay, and it's also um, um, after stretching over the size of carry-on luggage. So they have to they force you to check in that baggage, right? You cannot carry with you to the flight, but you have to check in your baggage, right? So so you have to pay money for check-in baggage, right? And that is a problem of the Ryanair. Next is no water served on the flight, and you have to pay money to have water. And the music is not comfortable. It's not enjoyable. And the color scheme in the flight is very ugly. It's offensive to the eye. It's yellow and blue navy color. It's not good combination of color. And no air sick bag. Okay, if you have a flight sick, so you have nothing to vomit into, right? It's uncomfortable. Okay, those are the service provided by Ryanair. Okay? And we move to the iPhone. Okay? We move to the iPhone, and of course, you know how superior qualities does the iPhone have, right? And you really appreciate the features of the iPhone, right? As the result, the performance of the Apple. Apple is one of few firm uh, become the 1 trillion company, in terms of the market value, right? And it's straightforward, right? And the market share, the values, the price of each market share of Apple, keep hiking up, right? So it's easy to understand why the Apple have a very impressive performance like that, because it's provide the good product, right? The product gives the customer the benefit, and of course they willing to pay the much higher price than the normal smartphone. Right? How about the Ryanair? The Ryanair provide a poor quality service like this. So how about performance of Ryanair? Okay, you have you want to guess? Okay, performance of Ryanair. Ryanair do have the good performance or the bad performance in comparing with the competitors in the airline industry. So here, the Ryanair performance, as you know, the first row are the budget airline. Okay, the airline with the lowest cost structures. Okay, and the below rows we have traditional, a full service airline, and the percentage under each brand is the rates of return, the profit margin. Okay? And you see, the Ryanairs have the highest rates of return. The margin is really big. It's really impressive. Okay, 24, and is is gained the highest rates of return amongst the budget airline. Okay, Jet and Greece. Okay, and and of course it's much more than the rate of return of the traditional airline. Okay, British Airways or Lufthansa just earned a 4%. Okay, the Ryanair's rate of return is 6 times higher than the Lufthansa. Okay, so why? It's really weird. Okay, and the Lufthansa and the Air France, they also established their own budget airline. Okay? For example, Lufthansa, they established Aerowing, okay? a new brand name, okay? For the budget airline. Okay? So this case is very useful to illustrate the importance of strategic growth. You see this diagram, we have the two strategic group in airline industry, right? First one is the budget strategic group, and the second is traditional, right? The first one, they focus on okay, if we use two strategic dimension, first is the service, full service, or the stripped down service. And the second one is a cost, right? So we have two groups. The first group contain EasyJet, Ryanair, and Quiz. The second group includes Lufthansa, British Airways, and Air France. Right? If we map the industry on the coordinates, and you can calculate and you can know that the average rate of return of the first group is much higher than the average of the second group, right? The rate of return of the first group is around, okay, around 15%, and the second group around 4%. Okay, 4%. And the players in the second group, they want to improve the rates of return, and there are two ways. The first way, they have to improve their competitive advantage in compared to its competitors within the group. Okay, however, it's very difficult. Okay, the second way, they have to jump into another group that is more attractive. Okay, that reason why the traditional airline, they establish their own business airline so that they can enter the attractive group of the budget airline. Okay. Các bạn thấy ở trường hợp này nó cũng rất là hay. Cái ngành hàng không này á, thì nếu mà tôi mà dùng hai cái khía cạnh chiến lược để hiển thị những cái hãng hàng không trong ngành ra, thì sẽ có hai nhóm. Nhóm đầu tiên là nhóm mà hàng không giá rẻ, và nhóm thứ hai là nhóm hàng không truyền thống. Và các bạn thấy cái suất sinh lời của cái nhóm đầu tiên nó rất là cao, nó tầm khoảng 15%, và cái nhóm thứ hai nó chỉ là khoảng 4% thôi, ví dụ là vậy. Thì những người chơi trong cái nhóm thứ hai, nếu mà muốn cải thiện cái suất sinh lời thì họ phải nâng cao cái lợi thế cạnh tranh, duy trì lợi thế cạnh tranh và phải tạo ra nhiều giá trị hơn so với đối thủ. Nhưng mà làm điều này nó cũng khá khó, và ngay cả cho dù British Airways cao nhất cũng chỉ là 7% thôi, so với cái trung bình của nhóm trên thì nó mới bằng một nửa thôi. Vậy thì những cái hãng này á, họ mà muốn có sức sinh lời cao như cái nhóm trên á, thì họ phải gia nhập vào nhóm trên. Và họ đã gia nhập bằng cách nào? Thì họ đã gia nhập bằng cách là họ lập ra những cái thương hiệu khác về dịch vụ hàng không giá rẻ ha. Và để họ nhảy vào cái nhóm chiến lược của cái nhóm chiến lược mà có sức sinh lời cao như này nè ha. Đó, thì đó là cái sự dịch chuyển từ nhóm này qua nhóm kia. Và tất nhiên để chuyển từ cái nhóm truyền thống qua nhóm giá rẻ này á, nó không phải là nó không phải là dễ các bạn ha. Nó không phải là dễ, vì nó đòi hỏi những cái nguồn lực hoàn toàn khác biệt so với cái việc mà doanh nghiệp tạo ra, những cái doanh nghiệp hàng không truyền thống ha. Và cụ thể là hai cái hãng hàng không truyền thống này á, hai cái hãng giá rẻ của hàng không truyền thống này á, nó hình như là nó đã ra khỏi ngành rồi, nó không tồn tại được, nó không cạnh tranh được với những cái hãng hàng không giá rẻ ở đây. Vậy thì các bạn thấy là cái ở đây là cái rào cản di chuyển á, nó rất là cao. Cái mobility barrier là rất là cao. Okay, we keep talking about value proposition. Okay. And the Ryanairs, they keep improving the profit. Okay, increasing the and here's some statistic on the performance. Okay, and here the aircraft is 60% is full, okay, loaded, right? And the traffic increased from the 11.5 million passengers to 12.7 million passengers, okay, and steadily increase. Okay, that is performance, and this is the market share price, and keep increasing, and the profit around 1,300 million euro, right? Impressive. And the operation of Ryanair keep being expanded, right? So it's the aircraft fleet of Ryanair into 2017 contain around 380 aircraft. Very impressive. Okay, so how can you explain this case, the Ryanair case? The Apple is easy to explain, right? Good product, satisfied customer, happy customer, so good performance for the firm. However, the poor service of Ryanair, but the performance of Ryanair is very impressive and higher the industry average. And Ryanair is the leader of the budget airline group. So why? How can you explain this? You have any idea? Okay, we can use the value proposition to explain this problem. Okay? The value proposition is the statement explain the benefit the customer have, and it's also express the how unique is your product. And the value proposition has have the three component. Okay? If if a value proposition is a triangle, so the three vertex is customer, need, and the price. And the first vertex, the customer, the firm have to claim, have to state, okay, what end user or what customer the firm try to serve, okay, try to sell the product to. Okay. The second vertex is the need. Okay, what is the problem? What is the need of your selected market segment? Okay? This really matters because when you know what problem you are trying to solve, so you will know the features of your product or the service you will provide to the customer, right? And the last vertex of the triangle is the price. Eh? It means how much money the customer have to pay for your product. Right? And three vertex, they are interrelated. When you change one of three vertex, so the other vertex will change. Okay? For example, when you change customer, when you change the target market, so you will solve another problem, and you will produce another problem, another product to solve another problem. Okay, so it's difficult to find an optimal combination between three vertex here. Okay? However, because the value proposition belong to the chain part of the firm, so even you have the perfect value proposition that make your shareholder and customer very satisfied, but you have to change it. Changes. Don't stick to it. Don't fix it. Okay, I give you one example of value proposition. Okay? I take the Adobe Lightroom product as the example. Okay? And this is the program that allow the customer to edit the photo. Okay? And the current trend and the problem of the customer here is the customer want to share the photo instantly, right? The second, the customer needs some space to store, okay, a lot of photo they take or they edit, and the customer also want to use the multiple device to access or to edit the photo, and the customer want to have some simple application, right? It's really simple, it's not complex, and easy to use the interface, okay? And no installation required in the laptop, okay? And these are the problem, and these are requirement of the customer, and that is the trend, okay? And as you know, the the target customer of this product is the amateurs customer. They are not professional, eh? The amateurs, just the people who love taking the photo and then edit the photo. And finally, they can share the photo with some relationship, right? They are not professional. They don't do the editing the photo for money. They just want to share the photo they edit with relationship, right? And as you know, the problem here, the customer normally is really afraid, uh, really scared editing the photo because the software, the editing software is very complex and it's required the professional knowledge. Okay? So the customer required, the editing must be fast. However, it's still powerful. They can apply the many effect. So that is the first. The second way, the second requirement is the customer want to organize their photo, so that they can easy to search, to access, easily. Okay, so the customer here, I already told you, the customer is are the people who love photography, but they are not professional. Okay, and the product help the customer to do the complex job. Okay, easy. Okay, now given the target customer and their problem, now I will show you the features of the product that help the customer solve their problem. Okay? First one, this the product, the app uh, will enable the customer to edit the photo everywhere, as long as they carry their device, maybe a smartphone or the tablet or the laptop. Okay, everywhere they can edit with um, easily with the portable devices. Okay, and this application also help the customer organize the photo, okay, by theme, okay, by time, or by any way that is meaningful to the customer, and customer can easy to retrieve the photos in a short time. Okay? And it's also provide the customer the huge capacity, okay, capacity on the cloud, 1,000 gigabyte. Okay, so the customer can, okay, upload the files on the cloud and easy to share with the relationship, and it's also, oh, and the customer can keep the photo safe, okay, over there. And the customer can easily share the photo, okay, just send the link to the people they want to share with. Okay, and that is the benefit. Okay, the benefit, the features of the product that give some a certain benefit to the customer. And very important, make sure the customer can perceive these features, okay? Because it will influence the willingness to pay of the customer. Okay, and the final component is the money. Okay, how much money the customer have to pay so that they can have benefit provided by the product. If you if you are the student, okay, or teachers, or if you are the people who in the education industry, so you have a much lower price, just 13, yeah, 50, $13 a month. Okay, so you see, this is a typical value proposition with a three component: price here, and the benefit here, and here's the profit, the problem here, right? So so we should have a good value proposition to make the customer satisfied, and we have a profit from that one. Okay, that is the typical value proposition. So, you have any question? Okay. Okay, the next question is, who need the value proposition? Eh? Normally, you can think a startup company need a value proposition, right? Because they have no product in the market, right? So they have to design it, right? However, not only the startup need, but the existing firm within the industry, they also need a value proposition, right? Because they have to create a new one, right? Even the old value proposition help they earn much high rates of return. However, because value proposition is not a mission, it's not a core value, so we have to keep changing it, right? Every everything change, right? The macro factors change, like the customer reference preference change, the technology code change. So it can make your hero product, okay, obsolete. Oh, some features that is unique and highly appreciated by the customer now is not valid anymore, right? The customer don't highly appreciate that feature anymore. So you have to change the feature of your product. Okay? And when you change the features of your product, that is a one vertex of the triangle. So the other vertex will change, right? So the value proposition, every firm, no matter what type of firm you are, new firm or the existing firm, you need to change. You need a new value proposition in the hyper competitive market today. Okay. And as you see, I take another example: the iPad of Apple. As you know, iPad is a hero's product. It's bring the big revenue and profit for the Apple, right? However, if you there is a big and significant change in the iPad. eh? If you take a look at the iPad at the first iPad, right? iPad 1 and iPad today, the most recent iPad now. So you can see a lot of change. eh? The iPad today, they have more features. eh? They have more features because the need of the customer change. And the iPad also aim to more market segment. Not only the people who use the iPad for entertainment purpose, right? But the market segment is widened. The iPad aim to more customer, try to solve more problem, right? As so, these changes in the customer will result in the new features, right? Okay. First, if you look at this one, you can see um, the first iPad and the version in 2017. So the screen size, not different. However, in the 2017, the iPad features the camera, right? And the batteries still have the battery life is 10 hours, nothing changed. The processor is upgraded to A9, right? So this is product innovation, right? So upgrade your features, your product, right? So this we can consider this is quality as an excellence, right? And the application that you can install into iPad is increased from 65,000 to 1.3 million application. It changed a lot, okay? A huge change. And you see the iPad now also used with the pen, the stylus pen, and the keyboard. Okay? You not only use the keyboard, the virtual keyboard, but you can use the physical keyboard. Okay, and you not only use your fingertip, but you also use the stylus pens to control, to draw. Okay? So why the iPad have more features, more new features? Okay? Because it's aimed to another market segment. Okay? First, it's focused on the people who in the education, like a student, like the teachers, right? And if you are the student, you need to take note, right? And you need to draw something. So that reason why the the customer need a pen, right? Not just a fingertip, right? Okay. And second, the iPad also focus on the corporate customer. Okay? So uh, when you are the officer, right? And you want to create the meeting minute, right? So you have to have some way to input fast, right? So you need to have a the physic keyboard, right? And sometimes you also need a draw to sketch your business ideas, right? Or some if you are the architect, you need the pen to develop your drawing, right? Okay, so those are the changes in the iPad. And these changes in the iPad resulted from the change in the customer, right? The new customer, new problem, new product, right? So the firm have to keep updating, keep changing the product so that they keep the product stay relevant in the market, right? So it's so risky if the firm stick to a successful product, a successful value proposition, okay? Because the change in micro environment can make your value proposition obsolete. Okay? It doesn't work anymore. You have to change it. Okay. Okay. You have any question? Okay. We have a break. Okay. 13 minutes. Is is have to deploy the first non-stop 19 hours flight and through the new aircraft. Okay, that's it is a new features in the product. Okay, non-stop flight, and this will serve a very special need of the customer who want to save time from taking the flight from the Asia to the United States, or the magazine or the newspaper they have to change the way to earn money, right? They have to change the subscription plan, right? Because the newspaper and the new and the magazine they cannot only rely on the revenues from the advertisement, but they also have to get money from the people, from the readers. Okay? And the iPad have to redesign for the new customer in the business and education, or the aircraft manufacturers, they have to put their jumbo jet out of production because this model is not it's not efficient in terms of the fuel consumption. So they have to mm, um, they have to redesign um, the new um, the new model of the aircraft. Yeah. Okay, so we move to the step to develop a value proposition. Yeah. Normally, there are some steps. The first step is you should start with the market need. Okay? The problem needs to be solved. Okay? The segmentation by the product or characteristic and geographic market. Okay? Or you can use the demographic. So these are the variables that help you to segment the whole market, the big market. And then when you split the whole market into the small segment, then the next step is you should choose choose one of them. You can choose one or two segment, or you can serve the whole market. eh. That is the first one. The second one is when you know what customer your firm serve, and you identify the problem. Okay? What and you will focus on the problem the, that that is urgent. Right? It means the problem needs to be solved immediately. Right? So the customer cannot delay. Okay? And the second is the problem must be unavoidable. Okay? Because if the customer can avoid that problem, so they have no reason to buy your product because they can avoid the problem, right? So the problem should be unavoidable, should be urgent, and the problem maybe either is maybe underserved or overserved, right? For example, before the appearance of the budget airline, so everybody they had to use the service from the traditional airline, the full service. However, as the passengers who is really who have a heavy constraint on the budget, they really um, want to save some money, right? However, they still have to pay for the service that they don't want to use. For example, they don't want to have a meal on the flight, okay, and they don't have any luggage to be checked in, right? So they just want to have a flight, right, without using any service along the flight. However, they still have to pay money for those service. Okay? And the budget airline models appear, so the customer only pay money for the service they use. Right? So that is the example that the problem of the customer are overserved. Right? And if your product can help this customer who have the problem are overserved. So that is a good opportunity, right? You have a product, and that product help you to take that opportunity. Yeah? The third step is you have to listen to the customer, right? You know the problem you want to solve it, but you have to listen to the customer, and even you let the customer co-produce the product, co-design the product, okay? and and there are some many tools to help you to gain and the insight or collect the feedback or any complaint from the customer, and then you will transform that input into some process and product specification. Okay, and the tool is the quality function deployment. Okay, it help you to transform the input into the product and process specification. Okay? And the next step is you have to decide, okay, what benefit does the a customer will have. Okay? And there's are some questions normally be asked first. Why should the customer purchase your product? Okay? Why? And the second question is, why should the customer choose your product instead of the competitor's product? Okay? And the third one is, what is the most worthwhile for the customer to keep in mind your product? So three these three questions can reflect the different approach. Okay? The first one is you focus on your product, on what you have. Right? You will choose, okay, the reason. You will pick some reason, okay, why the customer to buy your product. Right? You don't care about the competitor product. Right? You don't position your product relative to other competitive forces. Right? You don't need to have the knowledge. You don't need to have understanding about the competitor product. You just, okay, care about your product, right? And you try to persuade the customer with something you think, okay, it is the best for the customer, right? Of course, this approach is not good, right? Because in strategic management, in business strategies, you have to think in terms of, okay, you have to position yourself in relative to competitive forces, right? Okay. The second one is you have to compare. You have to prove, okay, your your product is more superior to competitors in terms of some features, and that features really matter to the customer, right? And this question, to answer this question, you it's require understanding not only your product, but you also have to fully under, full understanding of the competitor's product, right? And and of course, this is not the best approach. Okay? It's not the best approach because you and your competitors can involve into the race that every firm tries to become the best. Right? You have to make sure your feature is better, even slightly better than the competitors' features. However, if every firm adopt this approach, so what happened? This what what happened if every firm try to, okay, compare with the competitors and try to be better, and the firm try to be the best. Okay, so this case will risk a strategic conversion, right? And every firm will convert at a one point along the possibility frontier, right? Okay, and the third approach, I think, is the best. Is you have to uh, you have to you have to know among the features. So which one is a key features that is okay accounts for the large for the majorities of variance in customer satisfaction, right? And you should focus all the resources on that key features, right? And you can say that is a like a key selling point, right? You just pick okay one or two or three the point that really matter to the customer, right? And customer with a different problem, so that point will differ, right? And when you know when you have insight on your target customer, so you will know what is the key point, right? And when you know the key point, so you can focus everything, resources and time on that key point with the with the hope that you are the best firm that in terms of solving the problem for the customer, right? Because you try to resonate, okay, resonate with the problem of the customer, right? I think the first and the third approach is is the best, okay? And here, however, here is the table will summarize. The table will compare two approaches in terms of the component of each approach and requirement and some pitfall of each approach. Okay? And as you see, the first approach to all benefit is mean you try to list as many benefits as possible to persuade the customer, and you assume that the more features that your product have, the more satisfaction, okay, the more satisfied the customer are, right? So the, this approach will consist of all benefit the customer receive from the market offering, right? And the answer to the answer is no, its requirement is you have to know knowledge your own market offering, right? Your product, and has a pitfall that it's like you uh, you 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 insert the benefit. Okay? You don't care about whether or not the customer need or appreciate or not, but you try to take the quantity aspect, okay, rather quality aspect, right? You try to identify and list and make the long list, okay, and you hope that okay the customer will be impressive when they look at the long list, okay. And the second approach is consists of the all favorable point of the difference, okay? Is it and the points of difference it requires you to know your product and the alternative product in the market, right? So when you know both, you can compare and you can find or you can identify or you can spot the difference between your 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 offering and the alternative in the market. Okay? And it's require you the knowledge of not only your product, your offering, but the competitors offering, right? And the final one, the best one, is you have to it will consist of one or two points of difference that is really matter and matter the most. Okay? And you try to improve this point of difference. Okay? And it require you some knowledge on your product and the customer problem. So your product can deliver the values superior to the values delivered by the competitors. Okay? And is of course this also require you a deep research, especially on the customer. Okay. 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 I have the model here. Uh, I have the model. These coordinators with the two axes. The horizontal represent for how well a function or the features of your product satisfy your firm do. Okay, is do well or normal or poor. Right? If okay, the vertical axis represent for okay the satisfaction level of the customer. Okay, um, and you can see the three curve. The the uh, the the um, the below the below curve. Okay, the below curve, the orange below curve is represent for the basic need. Okay, that means your the features of your product, the features that meet the basic product will be positioned along this curve. Okay? And you see this curve had a one characteristic is when you increase when you increase the performance of these features, the satisfaction level will increase. The customer will be happy when you have some improvement on these features, right? However, when the level of performance of this feature reach a threshold at some point, so there is no significant or even the satisfaction doesn't change when you keep upgrading this feature anymore, right? Because you see the curve will get flat, yeah, get flat. It go flat. This means you still have to paying money to improve the feature. However, there's no return in terms of the satisfaction of the customer, right? And the second is the the green curve, the between curve, right? This curve is linear and is represent for the feature that if you keep improving that features, you spend more money, you spend more effort on this one, and it keep the customer more satisfied, right? And with the constant speed, right? Because this is the linear, right? And the third one, the upper, okay, the upper curve. This is a non-linear, right? And and all the features along this curve have the big significant impact on the satisfaction of the customer, right? Because when you change a little bit, okay, when you change a little bit amount of the features, so it can induce, it can produce a big increase in satisfaction of the customer. Okay? And of course, if you find some key point that along this curve, the upper curve, so you can save the money, eh? Because you spend a little money, but this can create a huge change in satisfaction, right? So it's have the high productivity, right? Okay, that okay. Next, when you when you have many choices. So the problem is how you select. Okay? When we have many features, so which features will you pick? Okay? So it depends on your internal capacity or competency, right? It means your resources, right? So it depends um, on your resources, on your access your firm have. Okay. Okay. So okay, I think those are the basic steps to develop value proposition. Okay? It's maybe a value proposition for the startup or for the existing firm with with the product already sold in the market. Okay, the same. Always start with the customer, then listen to the customer, then you will choose uh, the features, some key point. Okay? Then and the key point will also depends on your internal resources. Okay? And you will choose the feature that okay that can be produced by your current resources. Okay? Make sure that the competitors they cannot easily copy or imitate. Okay? That is the way to sustain the sustain and sustain the values creation. Okay? And your competitive advantage can be sustained, can maintain in the long term. Okay? So those are the process to develop the value proposition. Okay, you have any question? Rồi, rồi ở đây là mình vừa đi qua cái cái khái niệm mà cái tuyên bố giá trị ha, và với cái tuyên bố giá trị này thì nó sẽ cho mình biết được và khách hàng biết được những cái giá trị nào mà nó đem lại cho khách hàng, và tất nhiên là với những cái giá trị thì đó thì khách hàng phải đưa một cái trả một cái mức giá cho cái giá trị đó. Vậy thì các bạn thấy là khi mà mình đưa cái công cụ này á, thì bây giờ mình đã qua cái phần quyết định về giá. Tức là có quyết định về giá để chia cái giá trị được tạo ra, và ở đây thì nó sẽ có các bước, và chủ yếu là bước đầu tiên là mình phải bắt đầu với khách hàng. à, vì vì nếu mà một ý tưởng mà nó không tập trung vào khách hàng thì nó chỉ là một cái hobby thôi, thay vì là một cái ý tưởng kinh doanh. Thứ hai là mình phải lắng nghe để biết xem họ muốn gì, và thứ ba là mình sẽ lựa chọn ra những cái điểm khác biệt. à, và cái điểm khác biệt thì ngoài ngoài cái việc là điểm khác biệt này nó phải tập trung, nó phải tới từ khách hàng, nhưng mà nó cũng phải phụ thuộc vào cái năng lực của doanh nghiệp của mình. à, Tại vì mình sẽ lựa chọn những cái điểm nào, những cái khác biệt nào mà mình có thể làm được, và cái mình có thể làm được thì nó phụ thuộc vào nhiều yếu tố về nguồn lực của mình. à, mình phải lựa những cái nguồn lực nào mà mình có mà đối thủ không có, thì như vậy cái khả năng tạo ra cái lợi thế nó mới được tạo ra, và nó mới được duy trì bền vững được. Không không thì đối thủ sẽ rất là dễ có thể sao chép và làm mòn đi cái lợi thế cạnh tranh của mình ở trong tương lai, ở trong một cái khoảng thời gian dài. Ờ, thì đó là cái phần về 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 tuyên bố giá trị. Vậy thì hôm nay là mình xong hai hai cái nội dung thôi, và trong đó cái nội dung về về những cái building block của lợi thế cạnh tranh nó là tuyệt đối quan trọng ha, vì nó kết nối giữa môi trường bên ngoài và môi trường bên trong. Và trong cái phần thứ hai ấy, là về tuyên bố giá trị này ấy, thì nó cũng có một phần là giữa nhiều cái điểm khác nhau thì mình sẽ lựa chọn cái điểm khác nhau nào, thì nó cũng phụ thuộc vào cái nội nội tại của doanh nghiệp. Vậy thì các bạn thấy thông qua hai cái nội dung này á, thì cái vai trò của việc phân tích nội tại của doanh nghiệp nó rất là quan trọng. Vậy thì cái bài này là cái bài nó đóng một vai trò rất là lớn trong việc kết nối giữa môi trường bên trong và môi trường bên ngoài. Ok, các bạn có thắc mắc gì không? Rồi, nếu mà không có thắc mắc gì thì hôm nay lớp mình nghỉ nhé. Ok, chào các bạn.